Well, hello everyone. It's another Tuesday, and this is your devotional with Pastor JD. And I'm trying to do something else today. I was reading in my Bible, James chapter 1, just as part of my regular reading. And this is a famous section here about trials. And I wanted to share this with you because it might be encouraging to you. So, the question I've written here on the side, as you can see, is why do we have trials? And this passage provides some wonderful guidance on this question and also tells us how we should respond to the trials that we meet. So, you see, he says, when you meet trials of various kinds. And we can all relate to that now because we are experiencing a trial with this great virus that's going around, the economic troubles that people are having, just the anxiety and fear of it all, being isolated from others, not even being able to move as we would normally have done. So, yes, we are all experiencing trials of various kinds now. So, why do we undergo these things? Well, there's one answer here. Maybe God is tempting us to sin. And this is how a lot of people feel about it. They say, let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. This is how a lot of people feel. Like they feel like this situation is making things tough for them, and it's leading them into sin. They are not meeting the trial in a godly way, and so they feel justified in committing the sins that they do because they see this as some sort of temptation, some plight from God. But that is not right because God does not tempt people with evil. He is not in that game. So, why then do we have trials? Well, the answer is in verse 3. He says, look here, for you know that the testing of your faith, this is the purpose of these trials. The trials are the tests of our faith. So that's a wonderful thing here. This is not some random thing that is happening outside of God's knowledge, but rather God is using the very trials in our lives as tests of our faith. Now, the interesting thing here is that if you read further in this verse, it says, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Now, there we see it. So, why should God send us a test of our faith? Because it creates a steadfastness in us. It helps us to persevere. It makes us stronger. It makes us more godly. If you read further, verse 4, it says, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So here we see the purpose that, again, that Jesus is trying to make us like him. God is trying to conform us to the image of his son, Christ. And so, yes, he sends us trials of various kinds. Even this COVID thing is a trial for us. And it's meant for us to pass the test. We should endure and remain steadfast. The full effect of this life of endurance under trial is that we become perfect. We become complete Christians. We are not lacking in anything. We have a godly and mature character just like Jesus, and we glorify God by the way that we go through our lives. So that is the purpose of these tests. Now, it gets even better because you don't just become more like Jesus and complete a perfect person in a sense, lacking in nothing, but at the end of that, you actually receive the crown of life. Look at this in verse 12. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life. So that is what we are destined for. The end of this life where being a Christian is very tough and it's feels like a big test, but it does change us in this life. And at the end of this life, we are rewarded with this crown of life. Really, the crown is life itself. And so we gain eternal life. In the end, we are forever with the Lord in this blessed existence of being in perfect relationship with everything around us, including the Lord Himself. And so we receive this crown of life at the end of it when Jesus comes or when we die. So that is why God sends us the trials. But the text also tells us how should I respond to these trials. And we have a few instructions here. Look at verse 2. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. So yeah, the Lord is telling us that you should consider yourself fortunate and actually be joyful, be happy about these things, these trials. Why? How could you be joyful? Because it's going to produce all of these things in you. You're going to become steadfast. You're going to become perfect. Then you're going to receive the crown of life. So that's how you can be joyful in light of all of those truths that we just learned about. Also, now, who is sufficient for these things? This is extremely hard. How should I respond? Well, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. So you know that with all the difficulties and the trials that you encounter in your life, you know how much help you need. You need guidance, you need wisdom from the Lord. Wisdom is the skill for living well. If you want to live well, it's not just a matter of knowing the right things, but it's about applying the knowledge and putting it into practice. So that's what we want. We want wisdom so that we will actually live in this way so we can achieve these things. So there is prayer involved, asking for the Lord's help, asking specifically for wisdom. So be joyful, ask for wisdom, and then of course this last one, yeah, remain steadfast under trial. This is a very important step, that you are responsible for this too. You cooperate with the Lord. Your sanctification is a synergetic work. It is you working together with the Lord, and you remain steadfast. So that is how you should respond. Now, if this week perhaps you are feeling discouraged, you feel like I can't take it anymore, I'm feeling so isolated, I'm feeling so bored, I am feeling like I can't keep up with the bills, all of those things, just remember there is a purpose for it, and the Lord will not leave you, and the Lord will help you through it. And so just remember James chapter 1, the purpose of these trials and the instruction of how we should proceed forward.